Ever heard a joke and wondered, did that really happen? My name's Niall Mackay, host of a Vietnam podcast and a comedian. Long before I ever started comedy, when I heard comedians tell the craziest, funniest stories, I would always wonder just this. And if I got the chance to meet them after the show, I would always ask them straight away, did that really happen? 9 times out of 10, the answer was yes. But the difference between sharing a funny story with friends and telling it on stage is a comedian's ability to take those moments and craft them into a well-worked joke. In each episode of this podcast, we'll talk to comedians from around the world, play you one of their favorite jokes, then ask them, did that really happen? My guest today was the runner-up in the Saigon heats of the Vietnam comedy competition in 2021. He's a magician and comedian, and his unique blend of deadpan and in-depth storytelling is a unique journey that captivates audiences. My guest today is Tom O'Neill. Let's hear his joke.
But I did get married recently. I got married on Christmas last year. Thank you. Yeah, we chose Christmas because Jesus took my smile, so I took his birthday. It's only fair. And my wife is Vietnamese, and I don't know if you've ever planned a Vietnamese wedding before, but it turns out, someone has. Okay. Well, then this guy will know that even picking a wedding date is an ordeal. So according to my mother-in-law, who's always right, we need to hire a fortune teller to look at the stars and divine the perfect lucky day to get married. They'll check the omens and tell me if it's good or bad. Now, I don't know. Maybe I come from a backwards people, but I've just been using Google Calendar my whole life. I never even thought about asking Jesus or the sky about the date I should choose. Oh, sorry, it was June. Gemini. But, you know, the mother-in-law is always right, so we went and hired a fortune teller. So we go to see the fortune teller, and he goes, oh, yes, lucky day. June 19th, very lucky. Yeah, that's $50. Okay, Boris, here. Just my mother-in-law, whatever. Well, I don't know if you were here on June 19th, 2021. But I was. I was in this city. And I called my fortune teller that day. He was very angry. I called him up and I said, hey, Boris. How's it going? Yes, how are you? Not so good. You know, you said today would be lucky, and I don't think it's very lucky. What do you mean? Beautiful day. Look outside. There's something. Well, you see, Boris, the military has shut down the entire city. We're now living in East Berlin, and all the guests got deported. So pretty much the opposite of a wedding. And the balls in this guy. He told me, like, no, you don't understand. It is lucky day. Clearly you're white, not the one for you. She's not in the one. Yeah. This happened very recently, about 3 weeks ago. We were sitting in a bar, and me and her and some friends were talking about movies that we liked. And I was saying, oh yeah, I really like Spider-Man. And someone else said, oh, I really like I Am Legend. And then my wife blurts out, I don't like black men. Guys, she needs Men in Black. Okay? Yeah. It was super awkward, especially because someone agreed with her before I said anything.
All right, Tom, did that really happen?
So not quite. Like, it kind of did. So we did actually have to hire a fortune teller. That is a real thing with traditional Vietnamese weddings, and it's as stupid as you think it is. And so the industry here actually makes a lot of money off that because the wedding planning industry works together with these fortune tellers. And so days that are lucky are actually higher priced for bids for hosting your wedding on those days versus the quote unquote unlucky days.
What? It's like a conspiracy theory with big fortune tellers.
Yeah, they actually do work together. And so like, you can save like thousands of dollars. We just pick a quote unlucky day. Right. So what happened is a lot of that joke is true though, right? So when the COVID lockdown hit Vietnam back in 2020, Most people were here on tourist visas and business visas, right? And so into 2021, around April 2021, the visa laws in Vietnam changed dramatically, and they started really cracking down on shell corporations that gave a lot of people business visas. And now my visa at the time was good until July. However, we had just been like extending, right? There's no jobs available at the time, so there's no work permit. And when we were told, okay, June 19th was the wedding day, well, then April came, and then the visa situation happened, and I got a little nervous. And so I told my wife we should probably start the marriage license earlier. And so we started all the paperwork in April, and then we signed the marriage license on May 31st. And she wanted to wait until June 19th. And I told her, I don't trust your fucking fortune teller. I want to sign the damn paper now. And so we signed it, and literally 3 days later, the country shut down. And we couldn't have any gathering over 10 people at that time. And so the office that would have done the marriage paperwork was also closed. And then about 10 days after that, literally 3 days before the morning ceremony, the whole country shut down. We're not allowed to have any kind of gathering over like 2 people at that time. And so my wife was actually at my in-laws at that time. And so we were separated during the lockdown period for about a month. And we couldn't see each other. And so what we ended up doing was we had to use my company, my motorbike rental company, to create a CEO needed document, which required her to transfer over to District 7. So we got her through security so she could just come visit me. And you have to remember, before marriage, you're not allowed to live with your wife. So even though we were technically married, we didn't have the ceremony yet, right? So in the Vietnamese culture, we're not married. Well, turns out she came over, and then like a day after coming over, the paper we used to get her there didn't work anymore. So now she was stuck at my place for the next 3 months. So yeah, it wasn't a very lucky day. So and then most of the guests did actually get deported. About half of my friends, their visas got expired and they weren't able to renew, or they got blacklisted because their travel agent got them a shit visa, or they were just, not here at the time of the ceremony. But yeah, it was a pretty awful time. And so that's the true origin of that joke is where that came from.
It's funny how we can make humor of these things, make light of these things. I think I was just talking about it on the last episode with Ankita that, I remember when I got locked up in government quarantine and for 17 days on a hard mattress, and people are like, well, not a mattress, on a hard wooden bed. People are like, don't worry about it. You'll get a good comedy out of it. And I was like, fuck off. Like, there's nothing funny about this. And I didn't come up with any jokes about the situation for months later. It takes a while to like kind of process it. And then it's same again. We've just gone through another lockdown, and people are like, you'll get some good funny material out of it. And I'm like, no, it's fucking not funny right now, but I'm sure eventually I will. So what was the experience like of going to a quote unquote fortune teller?
Well, for me, it was kind of stupid, right? Like, I'm paying money for them to just tell me a random date. Like, you go there and you give them the money, they pull out some charts, and then they're speaking in Vietnamese. It wasn't a Russian fortune teller. It was a Vietnamese fortune teller.
Where did that come from? I remember hearing you tell that joke and thinking to myself, what the fuck is he Russian? He's a Vietnamese fortune teller. And then you mentioned something about, you're like, I can't remember what you said. Like, I don't know why he's Russian or something. But where did that just randomly happen, or was there a reason for that?
Oh no, there's a very good reason. There's a lot of Russians in Vung Tau, and I can do a Russian accent, not a Vietnamese accent. If I do a Russian accent, it's perfectly okay. But if I do a Vietnamese accent, it becomes racist really fast,
Yeah, I mean, I do the same thing. I do a joke where it's like a Vietnamese parent speaking, but I just do it in my own voice. And then it makes it even funnier because I I don't know why the dad has a Scottish accent, and it's for the exact same reason, because I can't do, I'm not even going to try and mimic a Vietnamese accent. One, because I can't do it, and two, because it would come across as incredibly racist and insensitive. So
Yeah.
that makes sense then why it was Russian. I was wondering that at the time. I was like, why the fuck is this guy Russian?
Russian fortune tellers exist too. And actually now that the war with Russia has started, there's a new tag I've added to the joke at the end. So now after the evil Russian fortune teller tells me that I should divorce my wife, he then says, "Oh yes, by the way, no, I clearly your wife, not the one for you. Okay, I go invade Ukraine now. Goodbye."
Oh, that's good. So just go on then. So what happened? You went to the normal fortune teller, not the Russian fortune teller. What does he do? Does he wave incense? Does he?
Yeah, so there's some incense, and they pretty much just pull out some charts, and then I don't believe any of this shit. So he was just taking my money at this point.
How much did it cost?
I think it was like $400K, something like that. It was like $400 or $500K. Yeah, my
$20
mother-in-law and the wife. Yeah, my mother-in-law and my wife went there, and I pretty much just walked in, looked at him like, whatever. I don't give a shit about this, and just waited outside for a good day. Oh, and then this was the funny part. After we picked the Christmas Day wedding, right? So we're like, okay, we're getting married on Christmas. My mother-in-law said, "Oh no, you need to go back to the fortune teller." And I immediately shouted. I heard her say that on the phone. I immediately shouted, "Fuck you! No, we're not."
Does she speak English?
No, she doesn't. That's why I could say it.
So tell us a little bit, like, how do you come up with your jokes? Because again, the whole point of this podcast obviously is, and now we're up to episode 16. The answer to the question, did that really happen, is it's kind of yes and kind of no. Like, it's kind of more like the way you answered it. You're like, yeah, but no, it's kind of based in reality. And what it is, and this podcast is proving that most comedians don't take like exactly what happened and then share it on stage. They change it, they adapt it, they put things together, they add a punchline. What's your process then from taking that situation that really happened and then making it into a funny joke for the stage?
We'll be right back.
Join pilot and adventurer Fernando Pino as he takes you on journeys to discover exciting destinations across the UK and Europe. You'll fly with him to hidden gems and experience local culture, from bustling streets to serene hideaways and the best places to eat, sleep, and play. Travel Plans is more than a podcast. It's your ticket to exploring the world and its history with a friend. In this episode, we are flying to discover a beachside paradise perfect for the whole family. Discover golden sands, activities galore, and even free childcare so you get your own break too. Why am I still here?
Well, I would say that the best jokes, like the best lies, come from half-truths, right? So the joke needs to be grounded in reality for it to be believable. However, when a funny event happens in real life, it's really difficult to replicate that feeling for the audience on stage. So something funny could happen to me in real life, but I was there. I could see it. I could hear it. I could smell it, and replicating this emotion on stage, if I just tell the story exactly how it happened, will often fall flat to a third person or fourth person listener. And so what I try to do is I try to exaggerate a few points of the story to replicate the emotion that I felt during the time of it happening, whether I want them to feel absurd about this or whether I want them to laugh at this point or that point. Like a different joke I have is my wife joke with the black man. The black man story.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna add that one in because that's too funny a joke. So don't worry then. If anyone's listening to this podcast, they'll have already heard that joke because I'm gonna put it in at the beginning. So explain the Men in Black joke because that's a great one.
So originally when I started telling this joke, I told it like verbatim how it actually happened. And then I realized that if I wanted to tell the joke, I have to like take that story and then punch it up a little bit, put in more scenario. And so you guys have already heard the joke. So let me tell you what actually happened. I was buying my wedding suit and I had my black tie and black suit. And I went home and I showed my wife pictures of me. And she's like, I like the suit, but I don't like the tie. And I'm like, why don't you like the tie? And she's like, because you look like a black man. And I'm like, what? Why? What? Why? Huh? And I was so fucking confused. I'm like, okay, what? And she's like, yeah, you look like you're a black man. I don't like that. I don't like that. And I'm like, do we have to have a conversation? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she's like, the movie. And I'm like, sweetheart, do you mean Men in Black? And she's like, yeah, Men in Black. I just lost my fucking shit. I was just laughing at her for like 15 minutes straight. And so then when I told the joke originally on stage, but it felt too short. And so I wanted to pair it with my language struggle joke. So now I have two of them. I have the we were at the bar, and then my wife said the faux pas, and then someone agreed with her before.
Yeah, I love that one. Because that is one of those did that really happen. You would hear that joke and you'd be like, that really happened? Because you could just totally imagine someone at the bar being like, yeah.
yeah. And so that's, so to create that story, I thought, okay, how can I take this funny story that happened intimately between me and my wife and make this like into a visualized event? Like I want the audience to be there with me when I do the storytelling. I want them to picture the bar. I want them to picture the setting, like they're just a fly on the wall watching this skit occur. And so that's what I like to do with my comedy, is try to put the audience members in the story with me. I want them to follow along.
And that is the difference though, really. I mean, you've explained it perfectly. Like that is the difference between, and you see it often with people who are new to comedy, which is totally normal. And I did the same as well. As they get up on stage, I remember seeing there was a girl came through open mic one time, and she was like traveling through Southeast Asia. And it was just one of these things where obviously her friends were like, oh, you're so funny. You tell such funny stories. Go up on stage at this open mic and do your thing. And she got up and, the story was like mildly entertaining, but it wasn't stand-up comedy. It wasn't funny. And it was just really obvious that this is a situation where your friends all find you hilarious and you are probably so funny to hang out with, but it just doesn't work on stage like that. And that is the difference, because you then need to be able to take all these little comments, literally like just a comment, and then turn it into something that you can, I like the way you explain that, like, bring the audience in, make them part of it. You've got to make sure that they visualize what you're talking about, right? And one of the things I've played about with as I've been developing my own comedy is just little physical cues, like just moving your arm or like, that joke I tell about, like lockdown Love Island. And if you want to make out, you've got to put a mask on. And then all I did recently was added that, well, the line used to be, if you want to like get in bed together, you've got to wear blue PPE gear. Oh, well, sorry. It used to just be, you've got to put on PPE gear. And then I just changed it to blue PPE gear, because right away, everyone can visualize what the blue PPE gear guys look like here in Vietnam anyway. And then all I did was did the motion of putting on the PPE gear with like my hands, with my legs going into it. And just by adding the word blue and that physicality of putting it on, the reaction increased so much. It already got a bit of a laugh, but it just increased. And it's just those little things that, exactly like what you're saying, just to bring the audience in, to help them visualize it more. So, no, that's awesome.
And I find like one thing I've been doing with a lot of my jokes is because I naturally speak with a relatively high vocabulary, but when I tell my jokes, I actually purposefully try not to use higher vocabulary, because there are English as second language listeners. And so when I'm telling a joke, whether or not for example, I had the wheelchair joke where, people make fun of my facial paralysis and they say, oh, I bet you have a great poker face. And I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't say that. Like, I don't go up to guys in wheelchairs and say, I bet you're amazing at arm wrestling. It's a rude thing to say. However, I used to say paraplegic. And then I found out that only native speakers would understand the word paraplegic. And even then, like, maybe not so many, but like just doing simpler words like guy in a wheelchair, or in your case, like scripting a PPE, like blue PPE, and then do the suit. Like that just allows our brains to connect it really quick. And like most of our audience members are drunk, so they're not going to be very, very quick with it,
Well, I think did you do the show with me at the Rabbit Hole when people didn't know the word oncologist?
Yeah. Wasn't it proctologist?
Proctologist. Yeah. Which
Yeah,
I was shocked at because I'd told that joke so many times and it always gotten the reaction that I expected. And then this was the first time I could hear people in the audience go, or what it was, I saw a Vietnamese girl turn to her partner and say, what's a proctologist? So I saw that and I was like, oh, and then I explained it, again, second language, so it's not her fault. It's a difficult word. But then there was like the white guy in the front row was like, what's a proctologist? And I was like, wow, I can't believe. So yeah, that's a good point as well. I got to just change that and be like, just make it more simple and be like the arse doctor.
Yeah, the ass doctor.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And so like there's a couple things that I'm trying to work on too with some of the other jokes. Like I have the orphan joke that I really love. It's one of my favorite jokes. But I don't know. I feel like the punchline. Do you know the orphan joke?
Remind me.
The orphan joke is so Vietnamese. So Trojan condoms are really expensive.
Oh yeah.
They cost like 77,000 Vietnam dong for a 3-pack. Do you know how many orphans I could feed with that? I could feed 25 orphans for the low cost of making another orphan. I love that joke. I love how dark that joke is. But I wonder if that kind of like style talking about orphans has like a delayed kick, or maybe it's just like people don't want to laugh at the orphans. I'm not sure on that one. But I was thinking about switching it to like, instead of orphans, just saying hungry children, because that's easier to visualize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could do. Well, you got to try it out, right? That's the thing. You just got to try it and then see how it goes. Well, mate,
Yep.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. I'm sure we'll be doing a show together sometime very soon. For anyone who's in Saigon, make sure you check out Tom O'Neill. He performs all over town. Check him out on Facebook as well. And he was a finalist in the Vietnam comedy competition. I say was because I don't know, has there been any updates on when the final will be?
So I think they're just ending 2021 just as it is, and they're going to just do a new one for 2022.
Yeah.
I think that's the current plan.
For anyone who's not in Vietnam, we were pretty much locked down for all of last year, and the comedy competition heats was like one of the last events before we got shut down for about 6 months. So yeah, that probably makes sense now that we're already nearly into April. Well, mate, awesome speaking with you, and I will see you very soon. Cheers.
All right, Neil, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Did That Really Happen? A new podcast from 7 Million Bikes. I've been your host, Niall Mackay. If you enjoyed that and want to hear from comedians around the world about their jokes and if they are true, then make sure to follow and subscribe from wherever you are listening from right now, and follow 7 Million Bikes on social media. The links are in the show notes. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're like me, you may use your laptop at places where you have to use public Wi-Fi. This opens you up to digital snoopers. It's a massive problem. It can be your internet service provider, or you know who, looking at what you do online, or a cyber criminal trying to steal your bank passwords or credit card info, or even a hacker at the next table trying to steal your sensitive data. These days, it is vital that you keep your data safe. NordVPN keeps all of these snoopers away. It makes your internet activity private, protects you from accessing dangerous websites that are phishing for your data, and lets you enjoy your favorite content securely, even while away from home. And it's easy to use, even I could use it. I've actually been using NordVPN for years now here in Vietnam, and I'm excited to be an affiliate partner with them. I've used NordVPN to watch Netflix, BBC, Disney Plus with ease, and I also know that my information and data are safe from prying eyes, whoever they may be. Join now and you'll get 68% off and 3 months free when you go to my link, nordvpn.com/SMB. Just again, for those hard of hearing, nordvpn.com/SMB. The link is also in the show notes. I know nobody checks them out, but go check that out and you can get the link from wherever you're listening to this podcast. As an affiliate partner, it also means that I will get a small commission when you sign up, but at no extra cost to you. So not only will you be getting a great deal through 7 Million Bikes, you get a great VPN and you'll be supporting 7 Million Bikes podcast. Stay safe online and enjoy the shows you love. Any questions, just let me know. You know how to get in touch with me. And thanks for listening to this show. Cheers.